Perfect. Well, again, thank you all for joining me today. It's time to do your administrative training. So you all can see my screen. We'll go through my slides very quickly, and then we'll hop into the system. There we go. So there's two big goals today. One is to equip you with a thorough understanding of managing user accounts and the portal. Since you all have a feed, it's very high level because a lot of the feed stuff is just that's when I've done this training for other clients, if they manually put in accounts, it's a whole extra 20 minutes to the training. But since you all have a feed coming in, we don't have to focus so much on that. It's going to be more focused on what to do with the information once it's in there. And then the second part is reviewing the basics of what we call portal health. And that's going to be things making sure that the portal is running smoothly. So kind of what that means would be making sure that who's matched to the system, or making sure that if people have questions, they're being answered through the frequently asked questions knowledge base tool within the system. But I'll kind of walk you through all those basics. But before I go any further, here's the agenda that gives a little bit more information to kind of what I was talking about. Like I already mentioned, though, anything and everything you have questions on, please stop me. I will address it. But before I actually go in, with all that being established, is there anything that any of you all today are like, today I came to really learn about this one specific thing? Is there anything that there's like that so I can make sure that I address it?
I just know the one that we had been talking about with Steven was those one-offs where if we say we have someone who is on performance management and we don't want them to be a mentor, but they still want them to be a mentee, how to turn that field off for them.
Perfect. Yes, actually, Stephen rushed to me yesterday. He's like, before you do the training, don't forget to show them these things. So I have a note on that.
Okay.
And the other thing he had mentioned to me too was that you all are going to have a resource section in your toolbar. He just wanted me to show you where that's going to be. It's already in there. And then especially for that, content is one of the things that I don't, you'll see more. There's general content in this system that I'll show you how to update, like slider images and polls and things like that. But when it comes to actually like content, most of our mentoring clients, we don't really train on how to use the content tool because it's not something that you actively use regularly. It was something that you would probably come to your account manager and say, "Hey, actually, I need these three things in the system. Can you load it?" Because it's at that point, it's almost easier for us just to put it in there for you than have to give you an hour-long training to show you how to do something that you're going to do maybe twice a year. So, yep.
Awesome. I don't know if Pam, you or Kenny had anything you wanted to see.
Well, it's all brand new for me, so I want to see it all.
Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead, hop in the portal. My mouse is acting weird for some reason, but there we go. Pull this up, and here we go. Do full screen on that. Okay, so first thing I want to point out is we on the admin side, and I know you were saying that if this is all brand new to you, we actually do have the user side training video, so I can, if you haven't already seen that, you'll have access to it. I'm going to put both of those videos under support, mentoring program administration support. I'll pull that up real quick. I don't know if I put the user one in here yet. Wait, the video one. Maybe I clicked the wrong one. Okay, no. So there's going to be one in here that says videos for a mentoring program administrator. And we're going to put both your user and admin training videos in here. So right now they're not
good.
in. I'm sorry?
I said, that's good.
Mm-hmm. So you'll always have access to them. But yes, it's not in here right now. So I'll get it done sometime later today or early tomorrow. But definitely the videos will be in here. I can already give you the access link to them. So you can have the links now, but they'll just be hosted in here for the future. Perfect. So when you log in, you land on the admin side. What this is going to show you is it's a very general summary of what's going on in the system. It always defaults to the previous 2 weeks. So this is total number of logins during this time, number of unique logins. So obviously a lot of us are getting in there testing. So 14 people have logged in a total of 158 times. It's a lot of logging in. That's good. Kind of gives you a quick line graph of it. Shows you the total number of new registrations. The poll, I'll show you more information on that. So you can see the results of the poll on the user side. Events, if you use the events tool, it'll show you upcoming events and who's RSVP'd to them. And then what is being accessed on the user side and the admin side. So the top resources on the user side, it's the mentoring application, profile, pretty typical stuff. The admin side showing you templates, adding a new participant, quick search, mentoring programs, XYZ. This is mostly good. The admin side, it's just good general information to have. For the user side, though, it just gives you kind of a peek of what people are looking at. Because if you see a lot of people are accessing the resource section, and maybe you're like, okay, I knew people were going to be accessing that, but it seems like more people than normal are accessing it. It gives you kind of a window to see what people are doing in the system. And then, of course, still, if you all have admin access, you can still always access the user side by clicking the Home tab. And this will take you right to the home side of the portal, the user side. So this is why at Insala, you don't have a user access and an admin access. If you have administrative access, it's been granted to you, and you have access to both user and admin side.
Hey, Matthew, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
It's Danny. Going back to the administration tab where you show the unique logins.
Yes.
Is there a way for us to see the actual user IDs or users that logged in? Is there a report that can show us that?
There is there's a report that we can pull for that. It's going to show you the last time that they logged in. So we can create a report for you on that for sure. It's not going to be on that screen. It's going to be in the Star Reports tool. We'll create a report. But yes, you can see that information.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So I'll make a note, Star Reports, create. So what is, if you don't mind me asking, what is the purpose? So when we create the report for you, we include the right fields.
No, just really to understand who has logged in and who has not. I guess part also of like adoption assessment.
Sure. Let's try. Cool. And you all, of course, will be getting an actual administrative training on how to use the report tool. We always do that training after everyone's a little more acquainted with the system, because usually at that point in time, that's when people are more comfortable about, well, what information do I actually need to know? So right now, and I'll show you when we go back to the admin side in a second, I'll show you we should have already created some reports for you. If not, they will be in there shortly. And you could just run the reports automatically. Later on, you'll be trained on how to actually create your own reports. It's very easy to do, but like I said, it's this whole different training. We like to kind of keep it separate from this one. For the resources tab, Jonathan, right here, right now, this is just where it is. So there's nothing in there, but this is where it's going to be. If you all don't want it there, you can either have it right there or you can put it under my tools. The one thing that I will say is good about making it its own little section up here is for tracking purposes, so that you can then see, okay, it's being tracked because someone clicked resources. It's part of the tracking. But you can put it under my tools. It can really go anywhere you want. This is just where Colin's put it for right now. Okay. So
are we able to edit those headers from, like, if instead of our resources, I want to say like articles?
Yes, definitely you can do that.
Okay.
For that, I would just put it on your UAT log, say, can we change resources to articles or my tools of it? Just let us know. Because again, it's something that
I think, yeah.
You have access to.
Go ahead.
It's just, it's using a tool that it's a very advanced tool. So it's just kind of easier for us to go in and make the change for you. But yeah.
I'm just thinking, if someone sees my tools and resources, they may go like, what's the difference?
Right. No, I definitely hear you. Definitely hear you. Okay.
And Pam and Kenny, just so you know, the reason we were talking about that resources is if we want to upload, I mean, Insala has their own like training materials, but if we want to upload our own documents on like articles about mentoring or different things like that, it gives us a section to do that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's great for us.
Excellent. Okay, moving right along. The first thing I always like to point out is obviously the support. Support request, I'll click that. It's not something you're going to use right now. That's what you'll use in the future. We'll actually talk about it when you get handed over to account management. But this is where you would just go if there was an issue in the system, if you had a general question, site usage, admin, anything like that. This is where you could submit that. Right now, you'd put everything in your UAT log, or you're going to talk with Stephen about it. But this in the future is where you'll go to submit support. Support FAQs, this is your golden section. This is going to have all the resources within the system. Every major tool in the portal has a guide to it. So I already mentioned about star reports, which you already have access to the star reports, but you haven't been trained on it. But if you go in here, star reports guide, there'll be a whole guide in here. I've actually been going through the guides just recently and updating them to make sure that they're up to date. They look pretty. But yeah, so you've got everything in here that you would want to know, like what is the tool, where is it, how does it work? For sometimes they'll even give examples on why you would use it or how you should use it. So a lot of great information in there for that. Anything else, like when you were talking about, I'm trying to see here, how to add content. How to add content to a feed widget, item in the menu structure, toolbar, how to create content in general, have guides in there for everything. So a lot of information in there. I built this over the past 4 years of me being in Insala from scratch. So everything should be in there. And if it's not, please let me know because I will make sure there's some content in there for you.
Matthew, this is Pam. What does STAR refer to?
Oh, star reports is just the Insala star. So it's our star reports. That's literally it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just the name in it. It's just our reporting tool.
Okay.
The one thing I will tell you to be cautious on is like one thing I'm going to show you all today is about the situation about if someone shouldn't be given access to be a mentor. That kind of content's not going to be in here because that's your internal process. So the information in here to do what I'm going to explain to you today, it's very simple. And technically that content's in here, but you wouldn't search it for, I don't want to give someone access to the mentor role. It would actually be in here as changing packages and things like that. So all the information may be in here, but it may not be packaged exactly in your process. So something to keep in mind. So we got supports, support requests, support FAQ, system announcements, and release notes. These two items, we always email you anytime there's going to be something done in the system. System announcements would typically be like if there's a technical thing, we're updating the system. Usually they always do that like Saturday at midnight or 2 a.m. So you never have to worry about it. You always get an email. Same thing with release notes. You can look at our release notes, but you'll always receive an email anytime there's something that's been changed in the system. But if you want to see some of the things in here, here's kind of a list of what's been going on just the past year or two. Yeah. Actually, one thing in particular, message manager, you never saw the older one, but we just actually updated our content editor.
So who receives the email? Only admins or anyone who is signed up in the system?
It's going to only be the admin. The vast majority of these updates are administrative updates. Very rarely are there ones that directly affect the user side. And if they are, it's usually more of a project and it's not something that would just come out of the blue. Even when it comes to these release notes, typically we send out a note at least 2 weeks in advance. And like I said, the vast majority of these things, they don't edit, they don't change your functionality, they don't remove anything. It's usually making something better or just kind of updating the UI. But you'll always receive advance notice. But yes, the people that directly get these notes are whoever we consider an administrator in our sales force. So you all can all be admin on that. If there's anyone in particular like, ooh, I really want to make sure this person gets release notes, just let us know and we'll add them to our sales force as an admin.
Cool.
And Mike and Matthew, do you guys have like a cycle on when you send out releases?
Usually, we always do our deployments on Thursdays. And it's right now we're in a 3-week cycle. I don't know when the next one is off the top of my head, but usually they're always 3 weeks apart. They never should have they should never affect usage in the system, so it's done usually during the day. Um, but anytime that there's going to be an update for notes or anything like that, like I said, usually those are sent out about a week before. I keep saying usually. The reason being is because if there's nothing being updated in the system that's affecting the user side for admin or um, your participants, we don't send out any notes because there's nothing. It's all in the background. Um, then
Okay.
there's other times that maybe we're making a big improvement, and those kinds of notes you get more notice in 1 week. It could be 2 or 3 weeks notice. So if there's going to be something changing in the system, you're always going to at least receive a week notice, and you'll always be notified.
Okay, including length of downtime and all of that.
Right. When it comes to our
Okay.
deployments, though, there's no downtime. The only time you would ever
Oh,
get that would be is if there was a system announcement. And like I said, those you would definitely get an email for, but those are always going to be like Saturday at 2 a.m. Yeah,
got it. Okay, thank you.
sure. Great questions. I'm loving this. Usually I go over support and people are like, yeah, it's there. So no, this is good. You're asking good questions. Uh, the other two items here, matching mentors and mentees and mentor and program admin support, this is just general content. Just like your participants have general content in the system to support them, this is kind of the same. This is just information for you. Basic information, recommendations, consultation. We have videos for matching mentees and mentors, and then basic mentoring program admin support. It's just in here. Use it, don't. It's all good. Some videos, very basic stuff. And like I said, the one thing that we will be adding here in the next day or two is going to be a link that will say videos for program admin. And that's where your user and admin training videos will be stored. So you'll always have access to it. The main reason we started doing that is so that if you have turnover or you want to add someone that's a new administrator to the system, the videos are right there. You don't have to come to us to add requests for access. They're your videos. You have access to them. So that's support. I always like to cover that first because that's everything we talk about today. It's going to be somewhere in here. The next part is administration. Really, in here, there's only one part you're ever really going to use. These other three parts, I'll kind of explain what they are, but you're never going to really touch them. Profile configuration will be something we'll probably remove. This is how we set up how profiles look in the system. This is a tool that we really use during your implementation to set everything up. So you're never really going to use this tool. In the future, if you ever want to make changes to the profile configuration, you would want to contact us and would walk you through it. Because this is a global change and it's one of those tools that if you're going to do it, you need to make sure it's been scheduled when you're going to do it so it doesn't affect everyone in your system. Field administration, again, this is kind of the BA situation here at Insala. This is how we create the fields in the system. You're never going to touch this tool. It's just here for implementation. One you may actually touch is company profile, so I'll click that. So for company profile, really, there's a couple of things in here you just need to know about. One in particular is the knowledge-based contact. So essentially what the knowledge-based contact would mean is if someone has a question in the FAQs and they ask a question, this is the email it's going to go to. So it can't go to multiple people. It can only go to one email. So it looks like you all have a general email that it's going to. So that email is just going to say, this person has a question in the system. Please log in today to answer their question. That's where this is going to go. Pretty much the only thing in here you're going to ever really edit. That's why you'll probably not really touch it often. The other two items are is if you do have people in the system creating content or communications, but you don't want them to be able to publish things immediately. So I know you were talking about content. Well, maybe someone from your marketing team wants to put content in the system, but you know that they don't really know the system that well, so you don't want them just to put something in there unsupervised. You could make it so that whenever someone put in content in your system, someone would have to approve the content before it gets published. So that's the content and communications approver situations here. You could actually pick who the person be. But in general, probably not going to come to this page. The one that you will come to is administrative accounts. So this is where we're going to actually make you all admin today. So right now we've got Colin is the only administrative contact in the system. What I'm actually going to do is promote some of you all to be admins right now. Another way you could do that is add a new administrator. Since you all have a feed, I don't really recommend using this, primarily because unless you're planning on giving people administrative access that are not going to be brought in through your HRIS feed, you really wouldn't want to be creating, because this is essentially creating an account. This isn't just promoting someone to admin level, this is creating an account. So you're really not going to use this part. What I will show you though is how to promote. So I'm going to find you all in the system right now. So here we go. So find Jonathan. Here we go. So Jonathan, I see you've got 2 accounts. Which, do you know which one of these we'd want to promote to admin, or which one you're using?
Sorry, I'm talking on mute. I don't know which one I'm using. I'm just doing single sign-on.
Right.
So whatever one is signing me on.
Sure. So let me look. This one's got an employee ID, so I have a feeling it's that one, W1. And I bet you if this one doesn't, oh, they both do. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to promote both of these accounts to admin, and then we can figure it out later, because we don't want to mess with this. So all you do, if you want to promote someone to admin access, we'll go over all these different sections here in a minute. But I did a quick search to find his account, and then I'm going to go right here and click the user dashboard. And again, I'll go over all this. I'm just showing you this one piece right now. Right here in the profile, it says change user to admin. So I'll click change user to admin. And this is why it says adding existing. So this way I don't have to fill out any information. I'm just going to change this access level to admin. And that's it. Save. There's another level called mentoring program admin. That would be a lower level where people can only see information regarding a program they've been assigned to. So for some of our clients that have 5 or 10 mentoring programs, they have a lot of admin in the system, but they don't want to give their administrators global access. So they say, you only need to know the information for the people in this program. You don't need anything access to anything else. Those people would get assigned a mentoring program admin access, and that's a very limited access level. So I'll go back to the quick search. I'll search again. You're going to see the other one is gone now, because when you do searches, administrators are not automatically included in searches. So there is a thing down here that says include admin, but usually if you're searching for someone, you're not searching for an admin. Promote this one, and then Danny, I will do yours. Kenny and Pam, I'm assuming you're going to need admin access as well?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Got that one. So you're seeing how super easy this is to just kind of update the levels. Oop, it would help if I spelled your name correctly. Danny, same situation. I'm going to make both of these admin.
Matthew, what is that checkbox that says restrict mentor program access?
Let me pull it up again.
Just right below the access field.
Right. I know what you're talking about. I just want to make sure before I.
Yeah.
So what
Right there.
right here. So this has to do with this level here. It's
Oh,
kind
I
of like
see.
it's kind of like a double check. If you give someone that, you're making sure you're restricting programs access. Yes. So it's
So you have to make sure you click that
right.
every time you select mentor program access? Okay.
Yes, if you select that one. Mm-hmm.
And what happens if you don't? It would not let you save?
I believe if you don't click it, it just means that you still have access to the whole system. It just wouldn't,
Oh,
you'd still have admin access, it just wouldn't restrict.
okay. But can you specify what mentoring program they would have access to? Is it in here or is that
Yeah,
somewhere else?
I'll show you that when we go to the mentoring program section. When you click edit the settings, you can see, you can assign program admins.
Got it. Okay.
Cool. So let's see here. Perfect. So Kenny, you're only in here once. Super easy. And the same way I'm giving people access, very similarly, if I wanted to remove access, you can just click remove. Are you sure you want to remove? And that would be it. It's just as simple to take away. And we'll do, yeah.
Is there a reason Kenny set up for Wyoming?
I would not know.
I think, John, because we started testing the HRIS feed, so I guess one was the one that they created manually and the other one would have to be from the feed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just gonna say Asia is a little far from Wyoming.
Okay. So now I want to go back to administrative accounts. There you all are. And once we figure out the situation with this, because I don't want to remove one. I'm sure there's a rhyme or reason. One was created before the SSO feed and the other one wasn't. But I'll let Colin and Stephen decipher which one because I don't want to take away access from you all. So here are all the access right now. And of course, for any of these people, you can edit them to remove the access. So I know we've already covered a little bit, not too far in depth in the system yet, but any general questions before we move forward?
No, I'm good.
Not from here. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm good too. Thank you.
Okay, let's
Okay.
move on to reports. Oh, I'm sorry, Pam. You had a question?
No, I just said all's good.
All good. Good. Next up is reports. And like I said, you will get a full report training, so I'm not really going to go in depth in this. Note report is so you can see communications that are being done back and forth within the system. Usually that's not a very popular report because that means you can see communications within the system. People don't usually like to check in on the communications. People usually use that report to see if people are talking in the system, not the content, but are people talking? Event registration, if you use the event tool, you can see the RSVPs for the events. Elements access, again, that's where you can see the same thing you saw on the homepage. It'll give you a longer list. The homepage does the top 5. This will give you the top 20, I believe. But again, Danny, it won't give you the names. That would be a report we would create for you. And then for Star Reports itself, let me see if we've actually created the reports. Yes. Perfect. So we actually do have in here your reports. These are super generic reports. So this is applications not complete, goals, mentees not engaged, pending requests, relationships that have ended. What we will end up doing is we'll create a login history report too and just store it in here. So for any of these reports, again, reports, Star Reports, if you click the standard reports tab, you can just run any of these reports. Right now, probably not going to be too informing because there's not much data in the system. But you can always get in there, edit. When you come in, it always takes you to the recent reports tab. This is where you can go to create a new report. And like I said, there's a guide in there. Feel free to go in there, start playing around with it and creating it. I usually encourage people to try making some reports before the training so that when I do the training, it's not just me saying this is the tool and how it works. It's more like, oh, you've already used it. Let me answer some questions that you may have. But already in here. And again, standard reports is where you'd go. Recent and save reports are going to be unique to each administrator. Standard reports are going to be global in your system. So all admin can see these reports. Next up, we have content. And this is the most mixed section out of everything. Some of these things we'll talk about, some we won't. The ones that we won't, I'll just cover first because it's easier. Content library. Content library is where you would go to actually put content in the system that you want to support your participants with. So kind of like your resource section, this is where you'd go to do it. We're not going to go over it right now because any content you want in the system, just provide it to us, we'll get it in there. And if it's something that you think you're going to regularly do, I will, of course, provide a training on that. There's a guide in there that'll support you with it as well. Very simple to use. Um, it's just one of those things that if you're not going to do it regularly, there's not a need really to do an hour-long training on something you're going to do twice a year. But this is where you would put content in the system like PDFs, video links, content articles. This is where they live. Another item in here, never really going to touch, is Package Manager. Package Manager is how we make your system look the way it looks. And this is actually something that in a little bit when we talk about the whole don't give people the mentor roles, this is actually where it's listed, but I'm going to show you how to do it. But again, the whole idea of the Package Manager is this is the look and feel of your user side of the portal. And you'll see here for languages, this is where we would go to create different packages with the different languages. So something that you're not going to really use much often, the thing that you're going to need to do, this is how we've enabled you to do it, but you'll do it over on their participant screen, not this page individual. So package and content library, never really going to touch. The one that you'll probably not touch often, if at all, is events. This is if you do events in the system, this is where you can put them. Again, we do usually the event training with the content training if this is something you want to promote, but this is where you can add events in your system. Right now on your user dashboard, you don't even have the events widget turned on, so I'm thinking right now that's not a priority, but we do a video in the system that kind of walks you through how to use the tool, the purpose of the tool, and what it can do. So what I want to show you are the things that you are actively going to be using. Sliders. This is a tricky thing because people are like, wait, what's a slider? These images on the user side, this is where they're stored. So if you want to add a new slider image, you just go to add new, you choose the file and make it active and then click save. And now it's going to display in the carousel on the user side. What's nice here though is you can control it per package. So obviously you may not want an English slider on a German package because if there's going to be words, you want them to coincide with the language. But you can't control which languages you want it in. If you do not choose a package, it goes to all of them. So right now, I don't think either one of these have words, so it doesn't make a difference. But what you can always do is if you decide, well, no, the current ones we have, I only want to be in the English package, I can go to edit, and I can select which packages I want them to go into. The other nice thing too is it says link URL. This would mean sometimes people will have it so that when people log in, mentors and mentees, once they get in, you want to promote some form of training to kind of guide them what to do. So you'll create a banner that says, welcome to the portal. What are my next steps? Click here. And then when people click it, you could take them to a content page. You could take them to a video that walks them through the next steps. It could take them wherever you want it to go. But it's a great way to kind of catch their attention so that they don't have to click around to figure out what to do. This would directly walk them through it. There we go. And it does mention here the pixel size. Obviously, for your portal, these are the dimensions you want to focus on because the way we've configured your home page to make it look the way it does, these are the dimensions. So this is what you want to focus on if you do new images. So we've got the sliders, polls, pretty simple. So for the polls, you're going to see this is the one we have active right now. You can have multiple polls active at one time, and they can be in different languages. But to make a poll, all you do is create new poll, type in your question. You can give answer choices, add more choices, remove choices, choose the language that it's going to be in, and then you can even control it by population. So if you just want your mentors to see it or just want your mentees to see it, you can control it by the population. And again, the mentality for the poll, like right now we said, how did you hear about the RL mentoring program? Whoever's seeing the poll, when they click it, they'll see the results. So you just want to make sure that it's something that you want a general pulse on. Want to be wary that you don't do anything like, are you having a good experience? Because if you do that and people are not, then people will see, oh, there's 29% of the people in this portal are not having a good experience. So just a quick way to get a pulse. You can make them inactive or active whenever you want. But like I said, you can have multiple polls going at the same time. They'll just kind of be stacked on each other on the user side. It's probably one of the most underused tools in our system because it is very simple, but it is a great way to get a lot of information without having to send an email. And we all know we don't want to send another random email out if you don't have to. And then the most important tool in the content manager is going to be the knowledge base. So what the knowledge base is this is your FAQs. This is where someone's got a question. This is where it's going to go. So on the user side of the portal, so I think, do you guys have it right? Yep, FAQs. So it's going to say, this is where we can put in your questions, comments, concerns about whatever you want them to know, any categories we have for this, what is the most important aspect of mentor relationship. You can put in here, I don't see any good mentors, what should I do? I'm trying to think of something more generic, but tons of different frequently asked questions that you can put in here. And if someone asks a question, they click ask a question. It's going to say, I'm going to put in my question, just going to put training so we know who it is, and submit it. This is going to go to that knowledge base admin contact. And that email, right, since you have your email right now, you probably just got that email. But that way you're going to be notified someone's got a question. We always stress to make sure that, especially once you go live, something you want to probably check on the daily basis, because if people submit questions to this and no one answers it, they're going to stop using it. So this is a good way to capture questions. And you'll see right here, there's my question right there. It always defaults to all questions, but I can do just unanswered. There we go. And for each one of these, I can see my mentor isn't responding. What should I do? So I'm going to click that. And here we go. So in this, I can see who was submitted by and when. I can make sure I email answer to user. We usually always recommend that because in this case, Jonathan submitted it. I probably want to directly get back to him. I don't just want to put it in the portal. I want to let him know I saw him. So you can put whatever content you want there. If you want to put additional reference text or a URL somewhere, you can. You can say who it was answered by. And what's really nice here is you can say if you want it to show in the system or not. So in this case, if you're like, ooh, that's a great question other people are going to have, I want it to display, I'll click yes. And now done. Not only am I answering Jonathan's question, but I'm adding it to my library base so that people can see it. If it's a question that's kind of one-off, that no, I'm not going to, this should not be in the system, it'll be defaulted to no. So this way I can still email and answer to him, but it won't display in the system. So I'm going to say yes. I can always take it off. I'll submit. I'm not going to email you because you don't need the email. But there we go. And if I go back to FAQs, there's the question. There's the answer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this one. Delete this record right here. It's off to the side. And now it's gone. So I can search for unanswered questions, answered questions, answered not displayed, answered displayed. I can add new questions whenever I want. You can do categories. If you want to do categories, it's very simple to do. The idea with categories we always advise on is making sure that you only do categories if you really, really need them. Most our mentoring clients would ever do would be like a category for mentors and category for mentees. But the more categories and subcategories that you do, the more people have to hunt and peck for questions. They're not going to. They're going to get tired of looking and they're not going to look. So what we always recommend is try not to use the categories unless you very much need to use them, because if it's right there on the page, people will see it. Otherwise, if they have to start looking for it, they'll stop. And that's all the content and reports. Any question on those two?
All good.
Cool. Okay. Ooh, we're more than halfway done. I know I'm talking a lot, so not too much more left, but just have these 3 left right here. Here we go. Message Manager, this one I can kind of summarize. Everything you see here is all through the Message Manager tool. So I'll just click Message Manager. This is where you would send out ad hoc emails. This is where your trigger notifications are set up. This is where your templates are stored, your contact list. This is where everything is. So when you go to the Message Manager, you can see the messages that have been sent out ad hoc, when they were sent out, who they went to, their status. You can see individual delivery reports for these as well. So we can see for this one, these were sent out, but they were just delivered. They weren't open, they weren't marked spam or bounce or any of that. They were just sent. If they were actually accessed, these would be changed. So you can see delivery reports on any messages within the system. There you go. And this always goes to sent. If you did any scheduled or pending approval or drafts, you could sort by that as well. Those are not commonly used, but we also have videos that go over this and more information on each one of the tools. To send an email, send an email. You already have templates in the system. You can use any of these templates you want. Even the ones that are triggers, you can still use those emails. In this case, I'm just going to use your generic Ralph Lauren email template. Before I click it though, you'll see here that this information populates from the administrative account. But once I use the template, whatever was assigned in the template automatically populates. I could pick when I want it to go out, date and time. So if it's Friday afternoon, you know, if I send an email out Friday afternoon, no one's going to read this. I want it to go out Monday morning when people will actually read it, and schedule it there. Then there we go. Here's the template. You could change anything you want in here. This is literally just your template. So it's just here if you would like to make edits as needed. If you want to see the HTML source code, if you're one of those fancy people that know HTML, I'm going to go to Tools and Source Code. You can actually see the source code here. I am not one of those people that know HTML, so I just stick to this side. But make any edits you would like to make. And then you would add the recipients. Here you can put in emails one at a time. So I'll put in that email. I'm also going to put in enrollment. There we go. So here we've got emails in here. You're going to see some differences. This email is my personal email. So that's why last name, first name is system ID. The system doesn't know what it is. I can still email this account, not a problem. The one thing you want to be aware of though is if you use merge codes for this email will not work because it doesn't know who this person is. For these other ones, these emails are in the system, so their system IDs are tied to them. So first name, last name. If you use a merge code like dear first name merge code, it's going to say dear Annalise. For this person, it's going to say dear and it's going to be a big blank. So you just want to be careful if you're emailing people outside of the system, don't use merge codes. But I can also add any of the contact lists we've already created for you all. And remember, these contact lists automatically update themselves. So active has logged in, active has not logged in. If someone is active and they've logged in, they automatically get pushed here. If they're active and they haven't, they're automatically here. But it all automatically smart updates. You can export a list, import a list, search for participants, or you can even just do a bulk paste. Remove anybody you'd like. And then when you're done, you just click send.
For contact lists, are those going to be already, like, is it just for everything or are you able to break them out by program?
So you will be able to do them by program. So I will hop to contact list. So this, we'll just create one. We're going to call it training. Delete me. Okay. Population criteria. So for this, you'll see that these first ones you're never going to really do. You can do it by package. You can do it by status, active, inactive. You can do it by program. Mentor, mentee. You could even do it by relationship lengths. I mean, a lot of different matched, unmatched. You can do it by population, tags, a lot of different ways to break this down. Most of our mentoring clients, though, they would do it by program or package. But right now, and if you need those set up, I'm sure we're creating those packages, so we'll create the contact list for you. You don't have to worry about that. Because I think the ones we have in here right now, let's click this and edit it and see what's in here. These are just global. People in the system that have logged in. That's it. So we can definitely break those down further for you according to programs or packages as needed. But you'll be able to create your own as well. All right. Talk about contact lists. I'll show you the templates. Again, here are all your templates within the system. If you want to edit any of them, you can edit it. There we go. Easily make changes. We use these templates to populate the notifications, to manage notifications. So with these notifications, we haven't created them yet, but what we'll end up doing is we'll do create new notification, and then we'll use a template. So let's say like your login email template, put it in here. And this is where we'll say the trigger's name is first time login. We'll make it active for the first time people log in. I want it to trigger 0 days after the first login, and they'll get an email. So this part I'm kind of going over, but if you remember when we did the quick essential webinars with the messages, this is why we gathered this information from you. So this is how we'll populate it. Create the contact list. So all that just gets populated in here, and then we click save. So pretty simple to do. But we sign off all the templates before we create the notifications, because what will end up happening is once you create the notifications, if you want to make a change, you have to go to the templates and make the change, and then we have to go to the notifications and make the change. Because the templates and notifications are separate entities in the system. They don't feed each other. So we use the templates to make the notification, but if you want to make a change, you'd have to go back to both of them to make the change. So that's why we try to make sure that they are perfect, pristine, before we make the notifications so that we don't have to go in and make edits multiple times.
So if you make a change in the template, it's not permanent until you do it with the notification also.
It's a great question. It'll be permanent in the template. So if I was going to send out an ad hoc email and I use that template, the change is there. But the change is not going to be changed in the notification. Because the best way to view this for the notification is the template. This really should say import template, because it's not connected to the template. You're just doing a general upload of that template one time.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I noticed that there is an error on one of the templates that you pulled up.
Perfect. So that's something that we'll definitely want to address before we make the notifications. Because for some of these, if the creation email, like welcome, we're only going to create one notification for that, probably. So that's super simple. But it's for some of these templates, like I'm trying to see one in particular, like reminders. Typically, you're going to have multiple reminders in the system, and that's where it can get tedious, because you might have a reminder to fill in your application 3 times. One after 5 days, 10 days, and 15 days. That means if you make one change, you have to make it 3 times. But yep. And right now, since you all have access, technically you can get in here. We're going to create the notifications for you 100%. You can always create your own, but that's just part of the implementation. We create the notifications. But if you see something wrong in the templates, feel free to go in and change the template. It's absolutely fine.
Okay.
And that's it for the message manager. Again, the view delivery reports, connection, that's a whole different thing. But any general questions on how the message manager works or anything else you want me to go further in-depth on that.
No, I'm good.
Cool. All right. I'm going to do mentoring last because that one's just a good thing to end on. Participants is pretty simple. So under participants, there's upload multiple accounts. You don't have to ever worry about that because you have a feed. So you're not going to do that. Add new participant, you're not going to do that either. I know right now that we've been adding participants because of testing and everything, but you all have a feed, so you're not ever going to need to do this. And if you ever needed to, you would just fill in these asterisk information. The main reason you would ever do this is for someone testing an account or you're trying to train someone and you don't want them to have access to their own account. It'd be very rare. But you have to give them a username and password because that means that this wouldn't even use your SSO. They would log in outside of it. So very rarely would you all ever use this, but you would just fill in the asterisk information, create a username, password, you'd make them active, you'd pick the package they would go in, and first name, last name, email, and then save. You were not going to do this, but if you needed to, you could. Browse directory. Just shows everyone in your system. Right now, your names are not going to be in here because, again, admin are not. If you want to include it, I can click that, and now you're going to show. So there's Danny, and now she's gone. But you can sort by active, alumni, inactive, and deleted. As a reminder, active people have access to the portal. Inactive, the rest of these don't have access to the portal. Alumni means that at one point they did have access, now they don't. Inactive means they never did. Like they've just never had access to the system, and then deleted, which is pretty self-explanatory there. And then the search, which I've already kind of shown you the search. You can search by name, ID, email. You can search by packages. If you just wanted to know everyone that's in the English package right now, I can search by that. By role, mentor, mentee, mentoring program, office, tags, status, a lot of different ways to do this. And most of the time, this would be if you wanted to make a general update. But again, all of your stuff is really going to be done through your feed. The one I could maybe recommend to you is, let's say which I'm going to show you this in a second. You have the people in the no role select. You do not want them to have access to that. Maybe you just want to assign them a tag so that you always remember they were in there at one point. I can, instead of having to go to each individual account, I can select them in bulk and click edit. And this is where I can say I can edit their package at one time. I can move them all to a different package at the same time. I can delete their account. I can change their program. I can change their population, or I could put a tag. And this tag could be something like no role group. I'm not going to submit because I don't want to add the tag. But then this way, I'm adding a tag to these people so that moving forward, if you ever do a tag report, they will always have this tag with them unless you remove it. But that's the main reason you're going to use this bulk change. Otherwise, it's for tags and populations. Otherwise, your feed is going to make the changes. This is a good way to quickly find an individual and make quick edits. All right, but now that we've already got you all up here, let me actually pull Jonathan's account again. Oh, he's an admin. He's not going to show. Whoops. Oh, wrong package. Here with that. Here we go. So there's two things. These two buttons, they both go to the same area, but they go to different tabs. The user profile tab is going to be their basic account information. So this account information right here. The other one takes you straight to the dashboard tab. So in this case, again, this is going to automatically populate according to your feed, but this is where I could give Jonathan a population. I can give him a tag. Yep, most of this is automatically going to populate. This is where, though, you would make the change for packages. So if you want to take away someone's ability to choose their role, where it says access package, I would change this to no role select. So what's going to happen if you do this means you would log in. When they go through the introduction steps, that whole option for them to pick a package or pick their role is not going to be there. It's going to go straight to mentee. So this is where you would go to do that. It's under the account information and that little person button.
So, question, and I know I sent this over yesterday. So is this how it would work for when we're starting off? Because obviously we need a enrollment period where everyone can sign up to be a mentor
Right.
before they can log on to be a mentee. So would they be just like the opposite of no role select?
So if you want people only to have access to mentor, you'll want to talk with Steven on that. Because right now the way it works out is they either get to pick their role, a mentor mentee, or they get automatically assigned mentee. Right now you don't have the option of only pick mentor. Right.
So then how does that work with, I know we talked about that people need to sign up to be a mentor first.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you have people sign up to be a mentor if they can do both?
Well, usually with most of our clients, it's just the understanding that once they've been granted access, it's part of the training to say when you go in, you will pick the mentor role. That is what you're doing. They don't usually put in a safety net for that. But if that's it, since you've already kind of done the mentee and you want to do that, you can talk with Steven to do it. But usually for most of our clients, they don't put the restriction in. It's just an understanding that when you sign in, you need to pick the mentor role.
So what prevents them from being, like, if you can be a mentor and a mentee,
Mm-hmm.
what prevents you from then just doing both?
Nothing. As I've mentioned, though, that for our clients, the other clients we've had, it's never been a concern. Because sometimes they're fine with people being a mentee. It's just the understanding of when you go in, you're supposed to be a mentor. You can be a mentee, but you shouldn't be doing that right now. You can also run a report to see if anyone did sign up for mentee and say, hey, FYI, I see you signed up for mentee. We're not doing that right now. But no, for other clients, we have not created a way to deactivate the mentee part. Cool. The other button will take you to the dashboard. The one thing that you don't have a direct link to is profile, because this is really up to the participant. You can edit someone's profile, but really this is theirs. They should be updating their own profile. The dashboard is where you're going to see their general information. So we've already seen here, this is where you can see their username, which doesn't make a difference because you have SSO. Reset password, which doesn't make a difference because you have SSO. Where you can remove or change admin access. You could put notes in the system. These notes are only seen by administrators, and this is where you could even put a note. If they were in the English no role package, you could put a note in here and say, Matthew was in this package because of performance concerns, or whatever you want. Oh, I got to pick a note type. And the type is going to be general. This is probably not something that is actively used by a lot of our mentoring clients, but it is a good way that if you want to put notes in the system about an individual, this is where you can store them. But the one catch is all administrators can see the note. So when I put in a note, if any of you all logged in right now, that note is going to be there. So this is not individualized per admin. A note on a participant, all admin can see. The participants cannot, but all admin can see. So if you just want to put general information on them, you could do that. You can export them to Excel. You can see their individual login history. They've accessed their first login, their most recent. If you were doing events, messages that were sent to them, activity feed. So this is going to say things like updated their profile, logged into the portal, things like that. Usage, so you can see here, there's a little green check mark that means it was accessed, and it'll tell you the date that this participant accessed it. If it's a gray oval, that means they didn't access it. It's never been seen. The thing to pay attention to this, though, is these green checks are from up here, is if I clicked this right there. So for this, it shows that Jonathan clicked mentee steps to success and mentor steps to success up here in the drop-down list. He might have looked at the phases in the mentoring relationship, but he didn't do it from the element So he might have done it on one of these pages. So that's why we always advise you want to be careful in that. If you want to track everywhere everyone's going, there is a place for your Google Analytics ID, and that gives you the ability to see every page that every person accessed and how long they were on it. This is mostly just give a general, this is what he's looked at in the system. Documents, this is something that right now I'm not going to be utilizing. And then mentoring participation. So mentoring participation is going to show you what they're in the system. So it says right here that Jonathan is a mentor and a mentee in Ralph Lauren mentoring, but also a mentee in high touch mentoring. You can manually add people to the program. Usually don't advise that because you want the participants to be logging in, picking their program, going through the steps. If you add someone to the program, then it's kind of on you now to remind them, well, you need to go in and you need to fill out this matching application and you need to. So going in and doing this part of work, you're adding a lot of work to yourself. You really want your participants to be going in, putting themselves in programs and doing the matching questions. But from here, I can see, let's scroll over now. View their application, what they picked for being a mentor. I could match them with someone if I wanted to, or I could remove them from the program in this role. So before I go to the actual mentoring program part, like the big finale for us today, any questions on that or anything else I've covered?
How do you edit pairing questions?
So for the pairing questions, they're stored under question sets. For that, we always advise you to contact your account manager because it's a system functionality that when you make an edit, it globally changes everyone in the system. And usually if you're making edits, you're either going to be doing it right now during implementation or you're starting a new program. Because what will end up happening is if you edit a question, everyone that's already in the system that's answered those questions would have to go back through the application process again to do the new question. Technically, they would still be in there. The questions are fine. Everything's going to work. But the problem is that means everyone going in after them that did the new question set, they can't match with the other people because the questions change. The matching algorithm is not going to work. So for that, anytime you want to make a change to the question set, we always advise for you to contact your account manager so that they can do it with you. If it's going to be something like, oh, we need to edit this question, you still want to contact that because this tool, it's a little bit of an older tool and it's very, very delicate. So if you want to make any changes to the questions, just let us know and we will do that for you. So right now, I think for you all, we have a couple of different mentoring program application questions. So if you need to make a change, just let us know. Okay. The very final part, mentoring programs. This is where at the very beginning of the session when I talked about program health, this is part of it. Part of the program health was your frequently asked questions, checking in on your questions, make sure everybody understands what's going on. The other part is going to be this right here, seeing who's matched in the systems. So you're already seeing that we've got different programs in place. Start creating these. The general information you're going to see on each one of these is who's matched and unmatched according to mentees. So this is got in here, we see total relationships. There's 2 relationships in here. People can have 1 mentor, but they can have up to 3 mentees. And that same information can be seen on each one of these programs. Going to the wrong field. There we go. So the one that's most populated, we can touch. It doesn't really make a difference. Ralph Lauren Mentoring's got people in it, so we should do that one. The things up here, obviously video kind of walks you through more information about how this works. You will never create a program. You will never create a program. That will always be something you will talk to an account manager about. Same thing with your general settings. These general settings affect all of your programs. So that's why it's kind of a delicate thing to use, because if you make one change in here, it affects every program. What you can do for each one of these, though, is you can look at the edit on each program, and this is going to give you general information about what's in here. So this is the name of the program, if they can self-match themselves, program admin, and the package. So this is where we would assign for programs so that if someone in your German package or Italian package, they're going to go in. This is how we know the mentor always goes here and the mentee always goes here. Also, Danny was asking earlier, where do I assign program administrators? This is where. All the programs are set up globally, but if you only want to give access to a program admin, I can say, okay, Kenny is in here. And now what's going to end up happening is if I made Kenny a program admin, he has access to it. And then when we say restrict, now Kenny can only access this package. Only access this package. If I don't pick this though, I'm going to hit cancel. Anybody can do it. But if you wanted to restrict it to a particular person, this is where you'd pick their name and then under their account, you'd change it to program admin restrict. There you go. And now I can click manage program. And this is going to give you the general information broken down a little bit further. So I can see here, unmatched mentees, matched mentees, unmatched mentors, matched mentors, total. If you're into Venn diagrams, you can see the difference of the both roles and participants. Because obviously this says that there's 13 people in here, but there's only 10 participants because 3 of them are in both. Technically, you can match people in the system. You all shouldn't be doing that because that's your participant's job. But I could say, well, here's an unmatched mentee. I want to find a match for Colin. So I go to find match. Scroll down, and it's going to show me everyone available in the system for him. And I will say right now I'm on a Mac. So that's why some of these things look a little bit differently. I know when I'm on a PC on Chrome, some of these things look a little differently. So if you're kind of looking on your screen and like, it doesn't look like Matthew's, it's just the way it portrays on a Mac. But we've got this, and you can see here 100% match with other people. I can click confirm match, and now they're going to be matched with this person. So that's if you wanted to administratively match someone with a person. Usually your participants should be matching themselves. But just as I can match someone, I can also go in and unmatch. So I can go to match mentees. There's John Smith. He's matched with John Doe. And I can unmatch her in the relationship. Unmatch would mean that I want to pretend like this didn't happen. It's going to delete all historical data in the system for this relationship, so you never have to worry about it. End relationship is going to save the relationship data. It's going to say, why are you ending this? You'd pretty much do unmatch if you were testing something for our implementation UAT, but otherwise end relationship would be you want to keep the information forever. But in general, you're not going to be doing that because your participants are. So any questions on the mentoring programs?
Hey, Matthew, I do have a question. And I don't know if you covered it and maybe I just didn't catch it. How do users, so whenever we send the employee file, how does Insala know what program to put them in?
It'll be part of the import. So that'll be something that when you all do the import, you'll work with Steven on that because there'll be certain parameters that will explain this person's going to go into this package program and everything. That'll be part of the feed setup.
Oh, okay. All right. So we haven't gone through that yet. Okay.
Right. And that's where too, because right now you've got the SSO and you all can access it because we put in the employee ID.
Mm-hmm.
So once that's done, all that will be configured on your end. We'll work with your IT team, but it'll all be configured. And that's why, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. The way with the package and the no role select, we have to do it the way I showed you all today, because if we try doing it a different way in the system, when your feed comes in, it'll say, nope, this isn't right, and the feed will overwrite it. So the way I showed you today is going to make sure that the feed doesn't override that. Because that does happen sometimes if someone will say, oh, well, I'm going to make this person active. And then your feed comes in, your feed says, nope, this person's inactive, and I'll turn them off. So all that will be worked out though.
Okay, so for that, I need to partner with Stephen.
Right.
to understand how that works. Okay.
For the high touch though, that's not going to be based off a feed. That'll be based off of us uploading people. So is there a way to like bulk upload that?
So for a bulk upload, we'll do a bulk upload in the beginning. Not a problem. Otherwise, you'd want to, you're going to have to add them individually. If it's something you're going to be doing on a regular basis where you're bulk uploading a lot of people, then we can provide training on it because it's, again, a very powerful tool. Usually what we would advise is you're not uploading more than 50 to 100 accounts at a time to individually create the accounts. Um, but if you're going to be, well, no, I'm going to be uploading 300 accounts at a time, then we can provide training on how to do that. But it just depends.
Or I guess we'd be assigning. So for our high touch, it's going to be once a year, but it will be probably around 150 people that we are putting in that program manually.
Sure. So for that in particular case, then probably, I'm trying to think. Right now,
Yeah,
what
we have to.
go for it.
Yeah, we have to talk through that. I'm just thinking because we're constantly going to be sending, updates on a weekly basis of all employees.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure it doesn't overwrite what was set in the system.
Right.
So we just want to bring that up to Stephen to make sure that if John selects and puts them in manually in the high touch program, we want to make sure that when the next feed comes, it doesn't overwrite it and brings them back to, I don't know, a different program.
And Stephen, that's why definitely for that, Stephen will be able to advise exactly how to get them in the system and what affects what.
Okay.
Good questions. Anything else? Because that's about what I had. So before I wrap up, I want to make sure we have a little bit of time left. So is there anything else anybody wanted me to go over and review further?
Need to get
I'll definitely say for this, it's one of those tools that you just have to get in and play around with. Again, the support is really good in here to look through the FAQs because you can get a lot of really good information in there that walks you through some of them. I would say in general, when you all first go live, a lot of this is gonna just kind of run itself. I know for the high touch you may be individually adding, so you might be touching that a little bit. So the program, mentoring program, and adding the participants, but a lot of the messages should be streamlined. You shouldn't have to touch those. The content will already be in the systems. You want to touch that. The admins will be assigned, and you'll get support training on the reporting. So the system, it's really just kind of important to get in there, start touching things to make sure you understand it. But the system for its most of it should just be running itself. The only thing you'll really be doing at the end of the day is updating your high touch program and running reports. Everything else should be kind of automated. Okay. I did hear something in the background. Sorry, someone did have a question. I didn't mean to talk over you.
Matthew, that might have been me, and you said exactly what I said. We just need to get in there and play.
Right. Yes. It takes a little while to learn, but especially once people. Definitely, since you haven't seen the entire system, I'd say even start on the home side, play around with it, just kind of get a feel for how it works. Because what's really nice is once people are matched, I mean, their work's kind of done in the system. They just have a bunch of the resources up here to kind of go through and play with. All right.
Cool.
So we'll do. I don't know why this is being finicky. Let me. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. So in general, I'm just going to leave this here. To wrap up, what I do advise for people to do, is that right here? Ew, why is it being weird? So this is what I recommend to do. Go in, create a new user, change the status of a user, make him an admin, look at the mentor manager, look at FAQ, look at the support FAQs, just kind of get in there and play around with it a little bit because this is the time to do it before everyone's in the system. So before your feed comes in and everything, this is the time to play around. Just make sure you're keeping tracks. Delete. We'll delete all the training stuff for sure before you go live. But this is a great time to get in there and do it, because once you go live, you can still play around, but you're going to have to be much more cautious of what you're doing, because at that point, you add a new user, you could be triggering a whole bunch of emails, or you make a change in a program setting, you could be changing it to thousands of people. So this is the time to go in there, really play with it while we're still in the implementation. Because again, for admin, there's no UAT, it's done. But these are the things that we always just say, get in there and do it. And if you know how to do these things, then when you go live, you're going to be in a pretty good state.
Okay.
But otherwise, I wasn't joking when I said at the beginning, with a thorough understanding of managing the account. This is definitely not the most exciting of the trainings, but there's just a lot to cover. And what's good with this too is that it's a good resource to always go back to. You can always fast forward to the parts you need more info on. So it's a good resource for the future. And then the portal health, that's kind of when I was talking about making sure that frequently asked questions were answered, making sure that users are matched. If you see a lot of people, you see way more mentees that are unmatched than should be. That could be a dawn to you, like, ooh, we want more people matched in the system. You don't want a bunch of unmatched mentees. That's not good. But that's what I had. So I will definitely follow up. It'll take me a little while to get the recording done and everything, and I'll get that back to you all. But if you have any questions, please let me know. Definitely some of these follow-up questions about like the feed inputs. Steven's going to be your resource for that. He'll kind of walk you through it. But you now all have admin access to the system, so you can all log in and start playing around. If you have any questions, just let us know.
Great.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Well, thank you all. You have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you,
Bye.
Matthew.
Bye-bye.
Bye.